Welcome back. Right, let's get into this new biography, The House of Beckham, which has been written by Tom Bower, who joins me in the studio now. Tom, it's not a flattering portrait, this, is it? I mean, are you saying that the Beckhams aren't all they seem?
Well, Netflix was their version, and this book is the truth.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. If you thought the Harry and Meghan saga couldn't get any crazier, think again. Today, we're diving into explosive claims from Tom Bower's new book comparing the Beckhams to Harry and Meghan.
That's
okay.
Bottom line.
I mean, in what respect aren't they? I mean, we get the kind of glossy, heavily controlled brand Beckham. I mean, the image is perfectly honed, isn't it, for the public gaze? You've looked into them, their lifestyle, their history. What have you concluded about this couple?
Well, they are a consummate act. They're an image peddler, and they are really terrific at projecting themselves and say very little. And they're a brand, and what they've done is they've survived, whereas most celebrities, after a year or two in the spotlight, collapse into anonymity. They've profited and carried on soaring after 25 years, which is a great achievement.
Although, to be fair, to quote another subject of one of your books, Meghan Markle, they haven't just survived, they've thrived, haven't
Absolutely.
they? I mean, they have made ever greater sums of money with every passing year.
Absolutely, and that's because they manage, and they have very good managers, to say very little and to look terrific. And as well, there's an empathy. I mean, after all, the thing about David Beckham is he was a beautiful man, a really handsome man, and he scored some spectacular goals.
Indeed.
He missed hundreds more, but we only see the great successes. And she was a very successful part of a Spice Girls, great singer, and she's very good at managing the chaos, the scandals, and everything else.
Well, tell me about that. I mean, you speak in the book to a degree of media manipulation, or at least picking favourites, having a good relationship with the Sun newspaper, for instance. So if there's ever a bad headline, Rebecca Lewis, for instance, then suddenly there's a stage-managed opportunity for Posh and Becks to try and change the narrative.
Absolutely, but of course the Loose episode 20 years ago was a disaster for them, and they survived it, although clearly they discussed divorce and everything and screamed at each other quite a lot. They survived it because Victoria is steely, ambitious, and knew that without David she was going to fall down, and persuaded David that without her he couldn't make any future fortune, and she was right. And in that sense, that is their strength. And the strength is that we're always looking for heroes. We're always looking for people who can represent the self-made success that they've done. And that is their great, fortune and their great nobility. But on the other hand, what my book shows is that there's another side and how they've done it, and where it's all gone wrong and how they patch it up and how they control the fallout. And it's a fascinating story.
Are Harry and Meghan following the Beckhams' footsteps in media manipulation and controversy? Stick with me, you might see the royal rebels in a new light. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with David and Victoria Beckham. For 25 years, they've been one of the most famous couples. Tom Bower says their success is a controlled media operation. Whenever a scandal hits, there's a perfectly timed PR stunt.
Brilliant if you're trying to sell books and Netflix deals.
You say that Victoria's steely. Is it right that she once punched David in the face over all of the affair rumours?
Well, that's what a journalist saw through the window. I'm sure she's punched him more than once, apparently. But I mean, the point about him is he was on the bad foot at the time. He'd been caught not with one but many women.
Oh my goodness!
And so it was he really didn't want to be caught out. But you know what's remarkable is not just the sex, and there's a lot of sex in this story, but it's fashion, it's football, it's celebrity. And the football story is fascinating. The money story is equally fascinating because he's very tight-fisted but very
well, you give
controls
some examples of them both being quite stingy. She's claiming for a packet of crisps on expenses.
And
he won't tip a waitress.
They don't. They serve £2.99 Tesco Leapfrog milk warm at their parties. I mean, they're not generous, except to themselves. But that's because they come from a poor background. He does, and where money was tight.
Well, she doesn't. I mean, famously in the documentary, she's making out she's working class, and then he reminds her that her father used to roll up at school and collect her in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, but it was second-hand.
Well, second-hand or not. I mean, but who wears the trousers in this relationship, would you say, Tom?
Well, I think they both do. And they both wear the skirts, especially when he's in a sarong.
Yes. Or he wears the trousers and she picks the colour, perhaps.
They mix and match. But the point is, they're not that much together. I mean, the whole secret of their success is that he's travelling around the world in Miami for his football team, brand ambassador in other places. She's pursuing her fashion career. Her fashion career alone is terribly interesting.
Yeah, go on.
Because it's such a failure. But it seems to be such a success. And that is remarkable by her PR. I mean, she had a turnover of 58 million a year. Dior's turnover is 60 billion a year. Yes. I mean, she is nothing. But if you're in Britain, you think that she is a great fashionista.
To be fair, she's certainly a style icon. And any woman that has used her eyeliners will vouch that they are very good.
They do, but very few buy them. But she is an icon, and that is the genius and the success of their media manipulation. That in the end, they're terrific at selling themselves and to a public who, on the whole, worship them. But there are many people who are somewhat sceptical.
So are you saying, come what may, this couple always stays together because of the brand Beckham? Well,
I hope they do, because I think they can't live without each other.
Yes.
I think they need each other, but they don't have to live with each other all the time.
Case in point, the Rebecca Luz affair. Posh and Beck stepped out, controlling the narrative. Sounds familiar? Let's talk about Harry and Meghan. Every time Harry and Meghan are in hot water, there's a Netflix documentary or a tell-all interview. According to Tom Bauer, it's a strategy. They use controversy to their advantage. The Oprah interview dropped after losing royal privileges. Harry's book Spare, more personal drama turned into cash flow.
And how about this whole issue around David Beckham's lack of a knighthood?
Well, I think the point is...
Why hasn't he had one?
Well, I think there are two reasons. One is quite clearly his tax affairs. I go into some detail, but it's a fascinating story how he's created this network of 19 companies for just 40 million turnover. If Dior had the same number of companies for its 60 billion, they have 30,000 active companies. They're all done to cast a smoke screen over his affairs and legally avoid tax. On the other hand, the other point is that very few footballers get knighthoods.
Yes.
And whereas he did score some spectacular goals, he missed hundreds more when he kicked the penalties and the rest. And he was a poor captain of England. I mean, England always lost in the internationals when he was captain.
But
and
also,
he did
don't
very
you make
poorly.
the point that Bob Kerslake, when he was considering knighthoods, thought that Victoria was a bit too flashy?
Well, she was, but there was no reason to give him a knighthood. I mean, he'd done his ambassadorship to get the Olympics. He'd done also the best he could to get the World Cup and failed. It wasn't his fault. But on the other hand, he was not a great captain of English football. He was just a great icon.
He was a
everyone
talisman,
loved.
wasn't he? I mean, at the end of the day, people love him around the world.
Well, yes, they did but just because you love someone doesn't mean you give them a knighthood. And the tax thing is a real bugbear for him.
So what's your prediction? He'll never get a knighthood?
I don't think he'll get a knighthood.
Even after he queued for the Queen?
Even after he queued for the Queen. Well, there was tens of thousands of others queued and didn't get knighthoods. Perhaps if he lives to 100, they might give him one out of some sort of sympathy.
The Business of Victimhood. Tom Bauer's book digs into David Beckham's finances, how he's built a global empire. But Harry and Meghan's brand relies on playing the victim. Their biggest asset is controversy. Meghan paints herself as the outsider. Harry plays the broken prince. Each interview, book, or deal, more millions. How long can they keep playing the victim? Let me know what you think in the comments. Why David Beckham still isn't knighted? Why hasn't David Beckham been knighted? Bauer claims two reasons: his tax affairs and Victoria's public image. His finances allegedly avoid heavy taxes, and Victoria seen as too flashy. The Beckhams played the long game, protecting their brand. So what does all this tell us? The Beckhams and the Sussexes both mastered media manipulation. Both couples used controversy to stay relevant. But while the Beckhams built a lasting empire, Harry and Meghan are running out of tricks. Drop a comment below, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.